Hello and welcome to Rachel's Rambles. It's time for something a little bit different in this episode as we, that's myself and my partner Rob, welcome you aboard P&O's Iona as we cruise to the stunning Norwegian Fjords. We blimmin' loved it, so keep watching to see how we enjoyed all that Norway had to offer, found our ideal cabin on board Iona, revelled in the entertainment and smashed our way through many meals and buffets. We were a little bit mindful of the journey down from Norfolk, so we travelled the night before and we stayed just outside Portsmouth, which was only about an hour away. With various events happening in Southampton that day, we'd actually expected the city to be really busy. Traffic-wise though, it wasn't too bad on our way down to the ocean terminal. And we'd arranged our parking in advance through a company called CPS. Then as soon as we'd offloaded the car, it was just straight to the bag drop, which I have to say was really easy. And then up to check in. Again, this was really simple. There was just a little bit of queuing, but it all moved really quickly. And before we knew it, we had our boarding passes in our hands, we went through security and then boarded the ship. We then spent the rest of the afternoon exploring, having a bite to eat and reading Horizon. Horizon is the daily onboard newsletter which lists all the things of interest, including activities like the shows and quizzes, restaurant details, cinema listings. Honestly, there's so much to see, do and explore on Iona, it's brilliant. We enjoyed the sail out of Southampton, and in the Sky Dome later that evening there was an acrobatic show called Tribu. We also caught a music show in the headliner's theatre called Rocks. That was really good. That evening we ate in the Olive Grove, which was really nice, although just between us we'd also had a little pre-dinner dinner in the Sky Dome a little bit earlier. Hello, we are on day 2 of our Iona cruise to Norway. Today's a sea day, so it's our first full day on ship. We've just been to see, it's like a TV quiz game show style thing in the Headlines Theatre called Wavelength. That's really funny. I've just come back to the cabin just to have a few minutes, have a cup of tea. I can't believe, I don't know if you can see behind me, I can't believe how quickly we're motoring across the North Sea. It's really speedy, and actually it looks quite rocky out there. It looks like there's a lot of swell. And you can feel it a little bit on the boat, but not too much. It's not enough to bother me anyway, and I'm the first person to feel seasick, so if anybody is anxious about how rocky it's going to be, I think Iona is just so big that you don't really notice it as much as you think you're going to do. Admittedly, our cabin is deck 5 and we are midship. We did a little bit of research, and apparently the more central you are and the lower you are on the ship is better if you do feel the effects of being on the water. We went up to the Horizon buffet earlier, which is deck 16, and it's right at the end of the ship, and you could notice it a bit more there, but again it's not enough to make me feel a little bit queasy, so fingers crossed it stays like that. Yeah, it's incredible so far. The P&O staff are just so helpful, so polite, everything's really well organised. Our cabin steward is lovely, really sweet. We've got everything we need. It's just brilliant. So if you're thinking about booking a P&O cruise, can't recommend it enough, go for it. That evening was celebration night, so Rob and I put our glad rags on for the evening. Lots of places on board have a dress code for that night, but if dressing up isn't your thing, don't worry, there are still plenty of places where you can hang out. For us, we had a really lovely steak dinner at the Keel and Cow, which is one of Iona's speciality restaurants, and it was amazing. Everyone gets a complimentary glass of Prosecco or elderflower fizz on celebration night, so we enjoyed ours in the clubhouse, where we also took part in a fastest finger first quiz. That was great fun, and I was in the lead for half the game, so felt very smug. No video footage here, unfortunately, as I was completely in the zone and too preoccupied to get the camera out. Then we finished off the evening with a visit to the 710 Club to see some live music. That's quite a small venue, but it does need to be booked in advance via the My Holiday app, but we 100% recommend. Day 3 was arrival in Norway and the port of Stavanger. We had planned to spend the day hiking up to Pulpit Rock. This is a famous cliff face overlooking one of the fjords, and it's quite high. But a few days previously, Rob had an epiphany and remembered how unfit I was, so we ended up doing a boat trip there instead, which was a bit of a win for me. So my next top tip is that you don't have to do excursions through P&O. But remember, if you're on a third-party excursion and you're late back, the ship won't wait for you. In this case, it was a half-day trip of about 3.5 hours, so we did book independently through a company called, and excuse the pronunciation, Rodna, possibly, Fjord Cruise. It departed at 10 and was back by 1:30. So the cruise we did was to Helesfjord and Prekestollen, again, awful pronunciation. But the boat was great. There was outside space, indoor seating, refreshments, toilets on board, and of course, cracking views. And the boat was just a hop, skip and a jump along the harbour when you step off Iona. That left us with a few hours to explore Stavanger, which is all very walkable. There are plenty of shops, a market, cafes and restaurants, and a city park too. The Tourist Information Centre is to the left as you disembark Iona. It's the building with the big Stavanger mural on the wall. And don't forget to have a look at the Old Town, which is directly in front of you if you step off Iona. It is beautiful. The next day was the much anticipated Olden. There had been a lot of chatter on board and on Iona Facebook groups about people getting up early to enjoy the sail into Olden, as it is meant to be amazing. I did get up a little bit earlier just to see the final bit, but I decided that a holiday for me is not getting up at 4 a.m. After all, we would be sailing the same way out at the end of the day, so I'd see the scenery then. That said, the views were amazing, so if, unlike Rob and I, you're an early bird, then I'm sure the same view at sunrise would be incredible. At Olden, the two main onshore experiences are a trip to the Briksdal Glacier and the Lowen Skylift. We were unsure about whether it would be possible to do both in one day, and we had heard some stories about long queues for the Skylift, so we decided to play it safe and booked just the half-day Briksdal Glacier excursion. Top tip, again, you can book this through P&O, but they do use a company called Olden Adventures, so we just booked with them directly for a better price. Once you arrive in Olden, it is like a well-oiled machine when you step off the ship. The Olden Adventures gazebos are directly in front of you. You check in, get your ticket, then cross the road to get the bus to Briksdal from the service station. It's about a half-hour drive to get to the start of the walk for the Briksdal Glacier, and the drive is through some of the best scenery you'll see. After a quick wee stop in the cafe, off we went. You can get troll cars up the hill for an extra cost, but we decided to walk it. We had to be back at the coach by about 12:30, so it did mean we couldn't hang about too long, which was a little bit of a pain as I had my big camera with me and I wanted to get some nice photos of the waterfalls. Although the weather threw everything at us that day, so it wasn't ideal photography conditions after all. When you get to the top, the glacier is amazing. It is definitely worth the uphill trek, which is a little bit hard going in places, but stick with it because the rewards are worth it. We arrived back in Olden in the early afternoon, so that meant we had a little bit of time to explore. And here comes the best bit. We stumbled across a sign which said the smallest beach in Norway, and it's here we learned we could hire a pedalo to take us out into the fjord. There is, as far as we could tell, just one pedalo, and we got it. You pay for the hire in the nearby coffee shop. We only hired it for about an hour, but I think it was one of the highlights of the holiday for us both. It was hard work pedalling if you've got little legs like me, but it was great fun, and besides from Iona and a few kayaks, we had the entire fjord to ourselves. Absolutely brilliant. So that's our next top tip: find the smallest beach in Norway and hire the pedalo. We still had time for a leisurely stroll back to Iona ready for the sail away. Shortly beforehand, the captain came on the tannoy to let passengers know about the efforts the residents of Olden go to when the cruise ships leave. He wasn't wrong. This was another highlight of the holiday and it was absolutely brilliant. So it's time for the next top tip. If you have a starboard balcony like we did, you can enjoy the sail away from your cabin. If not, hot-foot it to one of the starboard outside decks. You won't regret it. I may have got a bit carried away. That night we had dinner in the Keys. I had a couple of offerings from Asian Fusion, while Rob enjoyed the American diner. We have a lot of love for the Keys. The food is really, really good there. Then we headed up to the Sky Dome to see a live band, and they were also incredibly good. The next day was Helasilt, and we decided to enjoy a hearty breakfast in one of the main dining rooms before heading off to enjoy the day. So we are in Helesilt. It brings you out at Helesilt FC. Next playing in the Champions League against Norwich City. Nah, not really. We might go and look at the Twizy cars in a bit. They're like the little, I don't know, they're like a mixture of go-karts and smart cars. So Rob seems pretty keen on those. So we might go and have a look, see if there's any available. It's really pretty. At least 300 people live in Hellesylt. So you can imagine what it's like when 5,000 cruise ship passengers all descend at the same time. It felt like it was a bit chaotic and mental right at the beginning, but everyone's spread out a little bit now, so it feels a little bit calmer. Hellesylt is near the entrance of Stanganger Fjord, which I think is supposed to be one of the prettiest, and where you can see sights like the Seven Sisters waterfalls if you take one of the ferry trips. As I mentioned, we didn't book any shore excursions for this day. We did end up checking out the Twizy cars, but sadly there was no availability. So if the Twizy cars look like they're your thing, it's probably a good idea to book them in advance and not leave it to the last minute like what we did. And of course there's the famous Helasilt waterfall, which is in front of you as you step off Iona. That's pretty amazing, and you can even walk a little way up the hill as well to get really, really close to it. At the end of the day, it was time to sail away, and this is another one you don't want to miss. As we headed away from Helesilt, the scenery was unlike anything I've ever seen. Throw a few rainbows in too, and it was an absolute winner. Words just don't do it justice. So, grab a cuppa, sit back and enjoy for a few minutes. That evening we booked for Headliners Theatre to see the new show Festival. This was really, really good, definitely the West End standard. All the performers on Iona are so talented and we really, really enjoyed it. Our next port stop was Haugesund. Again, we didn't have any shore excursions booked for this day, but we did have a plan. We had read about the rising tide sculptures, which were a few miles out of town, and we thought it would be a really lovely walk. It was indeed a lovely walk. It was also a very long walk, but we really needed it, especially after all the food we'd been eating during the week on Iona. Most importantly, it was a free activity, which is important when you're on a budget like us, and Norway isn't the cheapest place to visit. It's about a 15-minute walk from the port of Haugesund, which is pretty industrial, to the town. It's then about an hour's walk to the rising tide sculptures, longer if you're a slow walker like me. It's a really nice stroll along the Norwegian coast, so take your time and enjoy it. The sculptures are 4 horses and riders which sit in the tidal water of a small bay. They've been there since 2019 and draw attention to fossil fuels and climate change. We stayed for a few minutes taking some photos before starting the stroll back. Important info, there are some toilets nearby in what looks like a porter cabin, but there's little signage, and be warned, they are pretty grotty and you'll probably need to take your own toilet tissue and hand sanitizer. But when you've got to go, you've got to go. Once back on board Iona, we got ourselves ready for the Limelight Club, which we had pre-booked for that evening. The Limelight Club is an exclusive music venue with a 3-course meal. The food was amazing. I think it was the best bit of steak I've ever eaten. Entertainment is provided, and for our cruise it was singer Gareth Gates, but they have different artists performing on different cruises. Even though I'm not especially bothered by him normally, Gareth was actually very good. Don't forget, if you want to go to the Limelight Club, it has to be pre-booked before you embark, as there is a limited capacity. And so began our sail back towards the UK, but we had one final day at sea and had been eyeing up the ice cream afternoon tea at Ripples all week. When I say we, I mean me, but Rob was kind enough to take one for the team and joined me. Now, I have a bit of a thing about having to eat ice cream before it gets too melty, so it was a bit of a race against time to eat it all before I had to drink it. Was it nice? Yes. Did I go in too quickly? Yes. Did I regret it? Kind of. I was feeling very full for several hours afterwards. We then made use of trying to see everything on Iona that we hadn't managed to see so far. This included a very cold and windy walk on the promenade deck. That didn't last long. We checked out the deck games, we took in the art gallery, and we enjoyed a quiz in Brodie's bar. I will admit it, I got overconfident and thought I'd won. Unfortunately, when I went up with my answer sheet to be declared quiz champion, I learnt that I was very much way down the list, much to Rob's amusement. I think there are daily quizzes in Brodie's though, so if you're like me and you're a quiz fan, be sure to check it out. And I hope you're a winner, unlike me. Then it was a quick wave to my parents as we sailed past the Suffolk coast. Hi Mum and Dad, before more exploring. Things to check out: Iona's Deal or No Deal game show in the clubhouse. You have to pay to take part in this, so we just watched to see if anyone won the big money. They didn't this time, but it's all good fun and very well organised. Rob did a token visit to the gym. We honestly had every intention of visiting here and doing a little bit of exercise during the week, but the draw of the fun and food was too much and we never made it. So on our final night, Rob headed down to do a bit of filming to prove that the gym does exist and is actually very well kitted out for anyone who isn't distracted by the free buffet in Horizon. Our final meal was the specialty Indian restaurant Sindhu. There's an additional cost to this, but it's absolutely worth it, and it was a special treat for our final night. Just a heads up that there is a dress code of either evening casual or black tie for this restaurant. Now, I'm a big fan of Indian food and it surpassed even my expectations, and even Rob enjoyed it, and he's not a massive curry fan. If, like us, you would like to experience the breathtaking fjords of Norway aboard Iona, go for it. You'll have a great time. Revel in the stunning scenery, enjoy the wide variety of dining and partake in a myriad of onboard activities. With spacious cabins, exceptional service and exciting shore excursions, this cruise really does offer an unforgettable adventure through one of the world's most picturesque landscapes. If we've inspired you, do let us know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I promise I do a little happy dance every time I get a new subscriber. So that's all from the brilliant Iona. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Rachel's Rambles. Bye for now.